Good morning. I think this right here is the toughest part of the mission trip, is coming back and giving a report. I'd much rather go build another church than stand up here. But as y'all heard last week, this is Mission Month, and I've been there to share about our recent trip to Bolivia. But first, I'd like to thank Hannah for kicking it off last week and sharing your heart and your passion with that. And also Brother Trenton for Wednesday night service. Man, to be a noble, that'd be nice. They're calm. They've got it made up here. I'm not, and I'm not a noble, and I'm not comfortable up here. But I'm going to do what Juno's asked me to do. I thank you for your heart. I thank you for your support. I thank you more than that for your prayers. Let's see, that went pretty quick. All right. Yeah, I knew I couldn't pull off the whole service, so I brought reinforcements. I'm not really good at explaining everything that went on, how it went. So I brought back some pictures, and I'll kind of discuss them and walk through them as we go and let y'all see. Because y'all, if it wasn't for this church, we wouldn't have been there. Y'all went through your prayers, through your tithes and offering. So this is what we accomplished. And this trip, it was kind of a little David and Goliath kind of deal. From what I understand, this was the smallest trip that went, the smallest team. There was 13 of us. And within that 13, there was a crusade team and there was a construction team. But I never once seen Jeff, Chase, or Angie wringing their hands, worrying about, will we get this accomplished? They knew they would. They knew God would do what God wanted to do. And we did. There was obstacles along the way. People may share about that. But it never hindered us. We kept pushing forward, and we accomplished what we wanted to accomplish. Get the first slide up, Chris. There's our team. That's a fine team right there. I'd go with them anywhere, anytime. That's construction and crusade. And just an amazing, amazing team. They've done a lot. April Pettis, she heads up to Crusades. And they actually go into the local schools and they do events, they do songs, and they sing and just different things. They get involved with the kids, the teachers, even bystanders. And from what I've heard, there's been salvations through bystanders watching them interact with the kids. So it's just an amazing event that goes on. Go ahead. There's what we arrived to. That's your basic foundation of the construction project. That's going to be their church. It's figured to house or to seat 200 people. And they gave us a basic foundation and a roof to start with. And that was Monday morning. That's what we showed up to. And there we got Miss Jessie and Miss Wanda. And Brother Bruce, they working on the first wall, got to bring it up. One thing that I noticed is Miss Jessie and Wanda, they were tremendously hard workers. And the crusade team learned that. And they took them from us. Pretty quick, like. I think by Tuesday, they was gone. So we was down 2 people, but we persevered. Go ahead. There's Mickey. Still working. We got to bring the walls up in different sections and let the mortar dry, and then you can move to your next section. Go ahead. There again. Okay. And there we got that. That's one wall that's up and going. Got it finished. Had to bring some scaffolding in to get on up to the top. They actually poured a header across that. This is just through your prayer and your blessings. we move to the next wall. The wooden frames, that's for the windows, where windows will be, and then also the header. We build in between those and keep taking it on up. Yep. There's the windows. They'll fill those in. Go ahead. And we're up on top of the scaffolding on this one here, and we get on up there about 8 foot on the scaffolding. Gets kind of shaky, but we keep going and doing, and Brother Bruce and Mickey just working. And there's across the whole thing from the far corner, me taking some snapshots, being lazy and not doing my job, and somebody's got to bring something back. There's the front wall there. It's starting to go up. We got the 2 sides done. The front walls are coming up. It was really, really windy this time of the year, which was unusual. We usually have a lot of rain and a lot of moisture, but this year it was super windy, super dry. And so a lot of the locals, they was running around there with water hoses, and they was just spraying the ground to keep some of the dust down. But there's the front walls going up. Yeah, and there they are. That's from the inside looking toward the front. Front walls are up. We're going to have windows in there, the windows on the side. It's a lot bigger than what it looks. Like I said, it'll seat 200 people with no problem. There's Mickey doing a final inspection on the front wall, making sure everything's plumb and ready to go. A great asset to the team. Mickey's got a good eye for a lot of things in construction. He was just as handy as a shirt pocket. Go ahead. Yeah. There's the back wall. There's a little bit of a story to that. Jeff and Angie may be able to tell a little better, but the pastor at this church had visions. I don't remember if it was before we got there or as we got there, but one of her visions or dreams, I called it a nightmare, was that a bear was going to come and knock down the walls of the church. Well, the wind was blowing 30-mile-an-hour gust. It was dry, it was windy, it was nasty. And that back wall, we should have took it on up, but we got to a certain spot, and that wind was sitting there it was just moving like this, just back and forth. So we got it to about there, and we held up and stopped and let the sun cook on it for a little bit and keep that bear off of it. Go ahead. And there's our construction team that kind of hung in there through all of it, a great team. There's some people from a few different churches there. There's Chase and Jeff and Louise, another gentleman. He was going to speak today, but he's, from what I understand, he got engaged. He's got other things on his mind right now. Go ahead. And this Thursdays are usually our last build day. We work from Monday to Thursday, so all that construction was done in 4 days. This is Thursday night. Regardless, they're going to have service. Yes. So they'll bring in chairs. You'll sit on a dirt floor. They'll drag lights in. But we'll usually leave Thursday evening around, 3 or 4 and go get cleaned up to come back to the service. And while we're gone, the locals, they come in there and they'll actually try to smooth the dirt down the best they can, bring chairs in, they'll bring their sound equipment. They actually, during the service, they had dancers. They have a lot of a squad of girls that come in and dance and swing batons, and it's amazing, amazing service. But we actually had the first service Thursday night in the church that y'all built. That right there is the pastor of this church. And she was out there with us. That's her work clothes. See, she got the water hose there. She was out there trying to keep it down, keep that dust down and settled, where we could finish our projects and do what needed to be done. Sweet lady. And that's her church right at the moment. You can barely see it, but in the top corner is the new church towering over this one. But that there is where they're at now. And, and there's where we left it. We try to get it to about 60 to 70%, and we leave it there. And the community and the locals, they've got to finish it up. They've got to have an investment in it, or they don't receive it as theirs. It's like it's ours, and they wait for us to come back and take care of it. But if we leave it here and they finish it up and they put their time and energy to it, it's theirs. And they know that, and they receive it that way. But yep, that's where we finished up at. A great building, great church, and from what I understand, Saturday, when we was on our way back, they was in there pouring the flooring. So that was good. That was real good. And I think that's where I'm done. And at this time, Bruce King has a few slides that he wants to show.
Oh, okay. I need this. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for being a church that loves missions, a church that supports missions, and a church that promotes missions. It was indeed an honor and a privilege to be part of this team. Say thank you. I'd like to tell you a little bit of why we go and what we do when we do go, and what are some of the results of our going. Matthew 28:19 says, "Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost." In my Bible, this is in red, and it does get my attention. Who do you suppose that Jesus was talking to when he said this? Well, every time I read it, I think he's talking to me. So we go because Jesus said go. Secondly, we are uniquely positioned in world history to be able to go. In generations past, missionaries would buy a one-way ticket to their field of service, and most never came home. Today, anyone with a U.S. passport and a plane ticket can go anywhere in the world and generally be welcomed when they get there. So we need to go because we can go. What do you do when you do go? Well, many things. We make new friends. You eat strange and new dishes. You learn a few words of Spanish. On our trips to Bolivia, there is an opportunity to minister in the schools with puppet shows, vacation Bible school activities, and so forth. Openly evangelistic endeavors. You can't even do that here. For most of the men and some of the ladies, there's construction work to be done, such as bricklaying and pouring concrete. Can you show a picture of us working somewhere? Okay, what is shown here is building a church, the walls of a place of worship. As it turns out, we're also building the church, the body of Christ. Those individuals who've had an encounter with the living God and are changed forever. That church. Can you show me a picture of Ignacio, young man? On a previous trip to Bolivia, one of the ladies brought some harmonicas to entertain the children, and one of the men brought balloons and made balloon animals. They marched through the neighborhood with quite a troop of children, and they stopped at each home and invited them to come to the dedication service of the new church building. Ignacio, the young man you see pictured here, was one of the people that were invited. He did come to church, he was saved, and now he serves as construction leader for the Assembly of God building projects in Bolivia. No. Would Ignacio have been saved, his life changed forever, if we had not gone? Maybe. But this I do know, we went. God took that effort, and Ignacio and others were saved. Though it is not reported in the evening news, the gospel is being preached. Souls are being saved. God's plans are coming to pass. I know it because I've seen it with my own eyes. Thank you for making that possible.
First of all, I want to tell you, I'm not Eli. I thought about asking him to help me this morning, and my sister's not here, and if she was, I wouldn't be the least bit nervous. I might be covering my eyes because of what she might be saying, but it would be good. But I just want to thank the church, first of all, for me being able to go This was just a dream that I did never think I would really be able to do. And my sister and I were blessed to be able to go and represent our church. And y'all, we are such a blessed people. You just don't know how blessed you are until you've been to a foreign land like this. And this is you've already seen our group. And if you want to go to the next slide, the next one, and all that is telling me how many thousands of steps that we had already walked when we made it through the Miami airport. That's when I knew I can do this. I told my sister, I said, do you know how many steps we've already made? I can do this. Next slide. This is some of our interpreters. We had more than that, but they were amazing. And they were everywhere. I mean, when we got to a place, they were faithful. They were our guides. They were our helpers. They helped us in so many ways, and we couldn't have done it without them, and I thank God for them so much. On the next slide is one of the kids' crusades that we went to, and these kids are all beautiful. They're all so precious, and they all appreciated us being there so much. We talked to one little girl that when we said America, they said, America, Disney World? And this one little girl, and you'll see a picture of her in a few minutes, she wound up, this one school we went to a couple of times, and she was at it. She brought my sister a little gift, and all it was a little broken off piece of tile, and you could see the concrete on the back of it, but it was pretty stones. To her, it was a precious gift. And my sister gave her a little plastic ring with a Disney princess on it, and you would have thought she'd given her $1 million. This child was just so glowing happy. But we forget what a blessed nation we are, and we look around at what we're able to enjoy, and it's by the grace and mercies of God that we have what we have, and I'm so thankful. On the next slide, on this slide here is one of our crusade, putting on the whole armor. Am I right, Brother Chris? April and the team, they do awesome. They do awesome. And, of course, we couldn't do that without our interpreters. And I don't know who enjoyed it the most, me or the kids. On the next slide, there's always a dog at school, number one. There's always a dog at school. And on the next slide, this is kind of, these kids, if they didn't have a piece of paper to write on, they wanted our autographs. They think America is so, if you're from America, you're special. And I wish we could get back to where we were so many years ago when America was a God-fearing country. That's what I wish. But I'm still thankful that we are a blessed people. And on the next slide, here in the front and center is a lady who fed us meals for a couple of days, and she was so blessed to do it. We were certainly appreciative. It was so very good, and she was so grateful to be able to do that for us. And she was right by the school. And on the next slide, we always handed out candy to the kids, and that was a big highlight. And I'll never forget, one little boy came up to me, and his jaws were poking out on both sides. And he wanted some candy. Of course, he already had a sucker in there, but he wanted some candy. He wanted some more. So, and on our next slide, is this my sister? Wanda with the kids, and she doesn't have any children of her own, but loves kids more than anybody I've ever seen in my life, and she enjoyed this so very much, and she and I both were so grateful to be able to go. Next slide. That's just us sitting with the kids again. Most of our crusade was outside crusades. We did go to one school that had an inside auditorium, and that school had like 3,600 people, 3,600 children, kindergarten through through 12th grade. And they have, their principal spoke English, so we were able to to understand really well. But everywhere we went, the kids were so appreciative of us being there. And on the next slide, this is the little girl that got so excited that had given my sister the gift, the little stone gift. And of course, she wasn't expecting anything in return. She was so excited. The next slide. That's just me and my sister slaving over bricks again. and we enjoyed it immensely. And to be honest with you, I had a little problem with the dust issues. If not, I would have probably stayed right there where I was the whole week. And on the next slide, we could have skipped that one, Brother Chris. Somebody had to stir the concrete. Okay, on the next slide, we had our breaks every day, and the advantage of my sister and I being there, which afterwards I think Sister Angie was there, we did make sandwiches for the guys, but we can do women work and men work, so. But we had our breaks every day, but in the middle of the afternoon, the church, the pastor and some people next door, they would always bring us out special things. And one day I said, gracias, gracias. And they said, thank you, thank you. I thought I was doing really good learning Spanish. But this guy right here that you see, he was one of the locals. He ran everywhere he went. And I think he hauled every wheelbarrow load of concrete up there. He was totally amazing. And on the next to the last slide, the animals just roam. They just roam free. You see the cow that's out in front of where we were staying. And on my very last slide, this was the most special part, I think, of the whole week was the dedication, the service on Thursday night. It totally amazed me, the work that God allowed us to accomplish in a week. And I just want to thank our church again. We don't know how many lives that we impacted, but I know we impacted a lot. And we appreciate it so very much.
Oh boy, y'all in for it now. Well, at least I didn't bring a whole pile of books up here and tell y'all I don't know what I'm going to say. Well, I really don't know what I'm going to say. I got some notes here. I'm probably not going to use them because just in seeing these slides and hearing their testimony, well, they pretty much said everything, but there are some things that kind of got left out. So for fear that I might leave something out, I want to thank everybody here for the opportunity that I got to go. I'd never been on a mission trip. It kind of got started. I just had never been nowhere. I'd never been on an airplane. I've been on a small airplane. My uncle used to fly crop dusters, and he took me with him one time, scared me to death. He did things you're not supposed to do, I don't think. For instance, he flew me by our house, and he says, hey, you want to see it up close? And he went down, and he went by the highway, and we went right by the front door on an airplane. At about 120, I never wanted to get on another one. Much less one of these big birds that'll hold 300 people, and you fly across the ocean, and all I've ever seen is, TV shows about what happens. But thank you, Lord, I got to go. I got to meet Brother Jeff, Sister Angie. It was great. It was great. I only went really to work. I like to work. A lot of people that know me, I just work. I tell people for fun, I work. So I go all day and work cutting trees. I come home and cut trees. I've been so blessed. I can't thank him enough. I know now why I went, and it's not for the reason that you would even think, but for the reason that I went there. If I had not went there, I would not be standing right here. There would be no need. The reason I'm here is because the people that went to Bolivia are supposed to come up here. So there's why I'm here. So if all of that happened just for me to be here, for me to say certain things, there's got to be something I say about God. So the grace of God is why I'm here. I've done so many things in my life that were just pure stupid. I'm a liar. I'm a thief. I'm an adulterer. I'm a murderer. I know some of y'all look at me like, you killed somebody? Well, listen, how many liars are in here today? I've done this before now, so I'm going to have to do it again. Everybody raise your hand. And if you think you haven't, just think a little longer, and you'll remember the first time you ever told a lie. Well, I've been forgiven for that. Not to do it no more. You can say that you saved and you're a Christian, but if you're still living in sin, the Bible says you might ought to examine yourself because something's wrong. If you're claiming to be something, you need to live it. I know it sounds like I'm already off base because I'm supposed to be talking about Bolivia. But anyway, my wife says, you'll do fine. Just focus on the one thing. And you'll be okay. She knows me, buddy. I'm all over the place. I'll be reading this and talking about this. I'll think about something. I'll see something. I'll get sidetracked. I'll run that rabbit for a while. Y'all just bear with me and run the rabbits with me and you'll be okay. I didn't have no slides. I didn't know we could do this. It really wouldn't have mattered because there's a long story behind it. I'm going to tell it anyway. Y'all know what patience is? What's the Bible say it is? Say it up. It's a virtue. How you get it? Well, you pray for it. Y'all start praying because you need a little patience because you're going to have to wait on me. I'm glad some of y'all got that. Where was I at? Oh, yeah, back to Bolivia. I met a lot of people. Can you click back on their videos? I'll just tell you when to stop. Just go slow. And I'll think of something. See, there's stories that I could tell, but stop right there. Y'all see that fella in that green hat? That's me. There's a story behind that green hat, too. I'm telling you, see, I get sidetracked, so I'm going to just tell it. Because I asked God, I said, Lord, what am I supposed to say? He said, really, it did. It come down to this morning. I was like, I still don't know what I'm supposed to say. I got a bunch of notes. I ain't looked at them yet. So I guess he's taking care of this. Sister Angie asked me at some point in our working, she says, does anybody have their ponytail holder? Y'all look at my head. Well, guess what? I had mine. I had it with me, and she didn't even know it. But she asked, and I told her, yeah. She just laughed it off. Well, I had to explain later that I bought that hat specifically to go to Bolivia. The main reason was it was $4. And hats ain't cheap. I bought 5 of them. I still got them. I'm serious. It's bright green, and you can see it. So it lets you stick out from everybody else. Well, I didn't need when I got saved, I kind of stick out from everybody else, and I don't need a green hat to prove it. Because if you can't talk to me in 5 minutes and know that I'm a Christian, that I serve God, and that's all I'm here to do now. I was here in this world for a long time, and all I did was serve sin. But when he saved me, he saved me. It didn't take me years to figure out, this is not what you do, not what you do. No, I ceased to do it. And it's appalling to me. I used to be the greatest cusser in the world. But I hear people cuss and it just bothers me. I had to learn how to be around it and just omit it. Because I hear it now and it's terrible to me. Just like any other sin is. But that hat is actually a woman's hat. The back of it has a split in it, and I found out later, it's for a ponytail. Well, I knew when I bought it because when I got it home, my wife says, why'd you buy a girl's hat? Well, I'm bald-headed, and I have a small head compared to most people that's got all this knowledge, so most hats don't fit me like I like them. I like them to fit so. Anyway, I put the hat on in the store. I didn't know it was a woman's hat. I really seen bright green, and I put it on, and I looked. There was no mirrors. I found something that and I could look. I said, okay, that looks pretty good. That's why I bought it. So I didn't know it had a ponytail holder in the back. Sister Angie asked, did we have it? I told her, yeah. I think she thought I was joking. But later on, I said, no, really. And I showed her the hat, and I opened the split. I said, look, you can put your ponytail in it. So y'all don't hold it against me that I wear women's hats. I'm not a cross-dresser. Click back to that guy he was talking about, Ignacio. There's a picture of him. That's the guy right there. I went to Bolivia, really, there's all kind of reasons that I think of now. Well, that was the reason, this is the reason, that's the reason. My brother Ike, most of y'all know him. He was hilarious. There's a side of him that I'll know that none of you will ever know because I grew up with him. And that man right there, when I went to Bolivia, I got to see the church that my brother went and helped build, just like I went and helped build that one. Well, that man right there got saved in the church that my brother went and helped build. So that right there was just, to meet him and all, that was just awesome. Well, when we went to leave, I worked, and he don't speak English and I don't speak Spanish, not too much. We kind of come up with a sign language. Y'all know what that means? That means, hey, I need you to make the measurement from that end to this end again for us. Because he'd have to go and he'd have to measure to move our string. We was all up on the scaffolding. You can't just jump down, run down there, and move a string. Well, I would look at him, and when he got done, he'd say, that means, hey, is that right? And I was like, yeah. So we could talk. You don't have to know how to speak Spanish to talk. We figured it out. But I didn't know this about him until after, that he was one that went to that church, and he's the one that got saved in that church that my brother went and helped build. So after I found that out, I was like, man, every now and then, we just had these sign language. It was just great. Well, when we went to leave, they said we could leave all this stuff for him. Well, I figured the only way he'd know who I am is I'm the guy with the green hat. So I left him that green hat. And I don't know, I'd like to go back just to see if he's wearing it. And if he ain't, I'd like to take him a new one because I got 4 more. I'm sure he don't mind that it's a girl's hat. Go back on the video. There was some women on there that Jesse had. Right there, the lady on the far left in the orange or red pants. I believe her name's Linda. Yeah, Linda. Well, I called her Linda. I know everybody's seen that little video on the internet where the guy's saying, listen, Linda, listen, Linda, listen, Linda. Well, every time I seen her, y'all, that right there is the Spanish-speaking sister to my brother Ike. I'm telling you, she is hilarious. She is funny. She was the hoot. We went to eat one night, and when that was the first night that she met me, I guess she knew different people from past experience. Well, she found out I was Ike's brother. Lord of mercy. She just had it in for me, I guess. We were sitting across the table, and she said, do you speak Spanish? I was like, no, that's not how it happened. I'm sorry. I was pretending to know Spanish because I do know some Spanish. And she asked me, did I speak it? I was like, not really. I said, but I can pretend pretty good. And she says, well, let me hear it. And I said, hablo español solo un poco, estoy aprendiendo, este momento estoy estudiando todavía. And she's like, oh, you speak very good. And I was like, no, you didn't hear what I said. I said, I pretend. I said, that's all I know how to say. Which is not, but it's close. Well, she just thought that was hilarious. So she was just, the rest of the time, she couldn't thank me enough for coming. Every time I was here, she said, I want to thank y'all so much for coming. And it wasn't me that I came, but that the missionaries had come. The people at the churches, they were so thankful that we could come. And all the money that we sent, that this church sent, that everybody sent for us to go and do this stuff, from what I'm told, it put them ahead 10 years. It would take them 10 years to earn that much money and put the time and effort to build that church. So basically, in other words, it would never happen. So if you've never given to a missions, this is a good reason that you should, because it really does help these countries that can't get this done. Us going, help them to get all that going. I just looked Brother Juno eye to eye, and I could see him saying, is this the 9th closing or the 8th? Thank you, Lord. Well, then I'm going to keep going. Because I'll think of something else I need to say. I'm going to look at some notes. Maybe it'll jar. No, flip through the pictures there, and I'll see something and tell you to stop. It'll make me think of something else. Stop right there. Now, the first two pictures was Bruce. I know you saw it, and you don't want me to leave you out, do you? Well, good. I'm going to pick on you. I ain't done. I'm going to pick on Chris. Oh, Bruce there, the two ladies. What's your sister's name? I forget. Wanda. When they took them from us, well, old brother Bruce had to start mixing toting cement for both of them and him. So he had to up his game. Well, nobody said it, so I'll bring this up. While we were there, Brother Jeff fell, broke his arm. So there was only 8 of us there. Well, that put us down to 7. So they took the 2 ladies from us. Brother Bruce stepped up and he started, this man, how old are you, Brother Bruce? Come on, tell everybody, it's okay. 76. Well, every bit of the cement that I laid, he put it on the board for me. Not to mention, he put it on the board for him. He put it on the board for everybody else that was there. He kept the cement coming. 76 years old. We're up on a scaffold this high. He's taking a shovel and throwing it up to the top. That's all he did. Basically, he laid brick too, but when he seen that we needed to do something else, he jumped down and started doing that. So when he said that this was the smallest team that had went, I looked at the church that the last one went. The church we done was way bigger, it seemed like. Same size. Well, 8 people doing the same amount of work. We did what 32 of them did. And we got it all accomplished. There were some things that come along the way that the devil tried to just stop. But it didn't happen. We finished what we went to done. God called us to do something, and we all went. And because of all of y'all, the money that y'all give, the missions, Brother Jeff, everybody, all of this come to fruition. It come to pass because it all worked together for the good of God. I stopped on that picture because after Brother Jeff broke his arm, that's another story there. It's like when things happen to you, it happens in slow motion. He was up on the scaffolding. It was about too high, I don't know, 8 or 9 feet. He was standing on it. I was the one next to him. I guess we were finishing up. Everybody said, "Did you push him?" I was like, "No." But when it happened, I just heard the noise. What had happened, I was over there finishing up. They were getting down the cement buckets because we were going to move the scaffolding. Well, it still had bricks on it and boards. And when he set the board up there was nothing under one end. And I said, "You might not want to set that like that. Somebody's going to step on it." Well, I guess I'm going to go ahead and tell you how he fell. Well, that board that we probably shouldn't have left there, well, he went to step off and he stepped on it and it teeter-tottered. And all the bricks went up and they slid down to him. Well, when I heard it and turned around and looked, it looked like all of that had happened and he was okay because he was still standing there. But then in that instance, he slipped and he turned and he fell. And he fell and the bricks landed on him. He just laying there. Well, everybody else just standing there. I'm up here on the scaffolding. Well, I was the first one to get to him. How did that happen? I don't know. But I got down there to him, and I'm laying there, and he's laying in the dirt, and I'm just looking. I asked a stupid question. "You okay?" And he said, "Yeah, just let me lay here." So he just lay there. It took a minute, but we got him up and got him sitting in the chair, and, laughing is good for the soul. So I can see he's in pain. I'm looking at his arm, and I know it's broke. I've seen broke bones before. I know it's broke. His arm, it's crooked. It's not straight no more. It's bad. I said, it's broke. So I'm holding his hand like this, and I tried to make him feel better. I said, "You want me to pull it?" I can't remember what he said after that, but it all come together. We ended up, even with his broke arm, well, now we're down 2 more people. So I figured at that time, Brother Bruce had stepped it up. So he's now sitting out there like this. in a chair, supervising, holding his arm. Sister Angie was sitting beside him, and I'm right there where that opening is, about 6 foot across there, and there's a scaffolding on the right and the left. Well, I'm on the left side, and I look to see Sister Angie and brother, and I look, and I was like, it'd be a lot quicker if I just jumped. And I look over there, and they're looking at me, so I crawled down, and I walked over, and I went up, and I got on the other side, and I laid that row of brick. I look over there, and they're looking at me, so I crawl down, and I go over, and I crawl up, and I lay this layer of brick. So Chris is on that end. I think Bruce was on the other. No, but Bruce, what was the other guy? Luis was on the other end, and I'm in the middle. So I'm stepping up my game. I'm laying this layer, and then that layer, and then I'm running to death. I'm going back and forth. I'm doing this, and I'm trying to keep up with them two, because they only got like 5 bricks to lay, and I got to do this 5 and this 5, and then he's doing 5. So I'm stepping it up. Well, they're watching me, because he's over there with his broke arm, he's supervising. So I get tired of going up and down like that, and I just look over there, and I wait till they both not looking, and I jump. And I just jump from there, but that's just me. I climb trees, and I feel like I'm a monkey. I do things most people wouldn't do, and I feel safe about it. I know there's a safe way to do it, and I've been pretty confident about that. I failed a couple times. But anyway, they're watching me, so when they ain't watching me, I jump. So the second time I do it, Brother Jeff saw me, and he goes. So I wasn't worried about him saying don't do it. I was worried about her saying don't do it. So I figured I'll do it again. And if she don't see me, I'll keep doing it. And I'll keep up with these other two. I'll do what 2 people's doing. So every time I do it, I look. Well, she wasn't looking one time, so I did it. Well, one time she was looking. She never said nothing. So I kept doing it. I'm at the top of a scaffolding on the far left, and I just look, and when nobody's walking, I jump. And I land on the other scaffolding on one rail. I jump off of one rail and land on one rail, and I just land with my trowel. I pick up cement, and I put it on there, and I start laying brick. I jump to the other side, and I'd lay it. So I'm taking up the slack. Some of us need to take up the slack. What would you preaching the other day? It's time. There's things that's past time. It's time to pick up the slack. You know what we're all here for, or you wouldn't be here. You need to pick up the slack. You know somebody that needs God. You need to pick up the slack. You can't wait to call Brother Juno. Brother Juno can't be everywhere at every time. Pick up the slack. We were there picking up the slack, and the whole church got built with 8 people instead of however many it took to do the last one. But when God puts something forth, when it's in God's hands and He has it, He wants it to do, He'll set it up. He's not going to fail you. He's going to bring it all together for that to be accomplished. And it all got accomplished, and we ended up 5 days worked on that. All that was done, and we actually had church before we left in that place. That I know of, nobody got saved. But listen, I've been gone from over there since September. It feels like a whole year. But prayerfully, it's there, and somebody's going to get saved. But if it wasn't there, who's going to get saved? Going to Bolivia caused me to look up all kind of stuff. I'm a person that just got to know. I study Bible prophecy all the time. I'm reading the Bible, and I'm trying to figure out this, trying to figure out that. I need to know. I'm on a need-to-know basis. Well, I needed to know why I went over there. I'm looking up stuff for Bolivia, and if you look up and just type in what is the main religion in Bolivia, well, it's Roman Catholicism, 86%. 7.8% is Christian. 86% Roman Catholic. I don't know about y'all, but Roman Catholicism is not Christian. They claim to be Christian, but if you look up percentages in the United States, it'll tell you that 70% of the United States is Christian. Well, if you'll look further into that 76% that calls itself Christian, well, 40% of that is Roman Catholicism. It's not Christian. It's an antichrist. It's a false Christ. It's a religion that's not Christian. That whole country over there, it was born, founded, and that's all that's over there. The place that we went, Santa Cruz, Bolivia, That's the home of their, what do you call it, the cathedral? It's the Roman Catholic Church. It's a big place. We went right by it, downtown. The part that didn't look like that. This was the city part of this poverty place. Well, it was there. Well, that's all they know. So if we're not going there to teach them about Christ, what do they have? All they have is a false doctrine. So you should feel obligated. If you don't give money to missions, you should feel obligated to give money for missions so that people can go, so that this can happen. If we're not giving and sending people to do that, then it don't get done. And they're just going to die and go to hell, because if you're believing that Mary is your way to get to everlasting life, then you're going to hell, plain and simple, whether you like it or you don't. It don't matter that you think this happens. The truth of the Word of God is what matters. I got a bunch more to say, but I'm going to stop it right there because I know y'all got to have time. So, Brother Jeff, if y'all going to come up here. Come on.
Jeff told me I had 3 minutes because Mickey took so long. I'm just kidding. He didn't say that. Hey, somebody helped me go on my first mission trip. And that's another way that you can give. My very first mission trip, there was my mother and my grandbuddy paid the way. The entire thing. They paid for it. And look what has happened since then. How many trips I've been on. How the Lord has impacted my life. Our youngest daughter is a nurse, and it's like Brother Chris said, she is our crusade leader. And she told me, she had posted a little thing on Facebook that she wanted to go, but that without a miracle, she couldn't go. So I said, share it on Facebook. People will be interested and they'll want to give. And she said, Mama, if we don't have a miracle, I can't go. So that's just the bottom line. So we began to pray. Somebody paid her way. You know, that's how God works. And I'm so thankful that she was able to be there, because when Jeff fell, I needed my baby girl who's a nurse, because she was with us. I'm going to tell one quick story, and Mickey will remember this. Monday, I went with the crusade team. It was awesome. You heard about it. On that afternoon, after lunch, we didn't have a school to go to, and so we went to the church to help work on the church, all of the crusade team. So we're all working and stuff, and I noticed Mickey is just standing there looking out the window or in the empty space. And I heard him say something about monkeys. Is that right? That's right. And I said, what? And some of the other guys did not believe him that he saw monkeys. They thought, what you been smoking over there? What are you taking? What are you doing? What are you drinking?
I got to say one more thing. I've never had this happen before, but God stopped me. I was going to tell this story, and I'm telling you, God just stopped me a while ago. I know why now, because she needed to tell it.
But anyway, so I stand there and I stare long enough that I start seeing monkeys jumping, no joke, in a distant tree. So I had my phone out. I was going to try and take a picture. They're fast. You can't take a picture of a monkey. It's worse than a squirrel. So anyway, the work continued that day, and we went on. We went back. We ate. Come back the next day. I didn't come back with them. I went on with the crusade team. But Wednesday morning, and then you know about Jeff's accident, so we're not going to go back there. But Wednesday morning, the pastor our pastor from Bolivia, Pastor Joel, met me at the bus, and he said, I have to talk to you. And so I said, okay. And he said, the pastor told me that when they were praying, now I do want to insert this, while we were building each day, they would come back, the congregation, the people of the church would come back after we left and clean up and pray until after midnight. I'm not playing. Pastor Joel said that the pastor told him, I believe it was Tuesday, this is before Jeff had his accident, that she had a vision while they were praying, while people were praying, she had a vision that there were monkeys coming towards the church, and they were running through there, and they were tearing everything up, and they were just wrecking havoc with the place, just really making a mess as they were trying to clean it up. The next night, they did the same thing. I believe that was, first one was Monday, and then the second one was Tuesday. The next night, while they were praying, she had another vision, and this one was the bear, like Brother Chris said. That the bear was coming out of the woods right behind the church and barreling towards the church to knock the church down, to knock the walls down. And so it's just like he said, they had to stop at one point because the wall started doing this. They prayed. Those people cared so much. They prayed over our safety. They prayed for us. They prayed in the building when we weren't there. The Lord, you know what? Jeff could have died. He fell 10 feet on bricks, and then bricks fell on him. He didn't, he takes a blood thinner. Can I say this? I done said it. He takes a blood thinner, and if you scratch him, he bleeds. He fell and hit some bricks and had a huge abrasion on his head right here. And you know how you bleed on your face and your head, how quick that'll bleed? He barely bled there. And it was about that big around. And within one day, the Lord had already scabbed it over. God did miracles upon miracles, things we didn't see, things we didn't even expect him to do. God did amazing miracles. There goes my alarm. I heard it. It's your turn. We love y'all. Thank you for supporting us.
Just like that. Just like that. I'm still not convinced it was an accident. I still think Mickey was too close to me. Well, I sat over there as these guys was talking, and I started scratching all my notes out. Man, I was going to say that. I was going to say that. I was going to say that. But I am going to repeat Bruce because I think it's important that we do. I don't think Bruce would have read this, and the Lord wouldn't have laid this on my heart this morning if it wasn't important. Matthew 28. I'm going to start in 16. Then the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. Get that, where he had told them to go. When they saw him, they worshiped him, but some doubted. Then Jesus said unto them, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given unto me. Therefore, go ye. Make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son of the Holy Ghost. I think it's important that we go. Now, I was here a couple of months back, and I want to touch back just a minute. And I'm not going to try to talk about what we talked about then, but it is important that we go. And that doesn't mean you have to go to a foreign country. What that means is if you're not called to missions in a foreign country, then you're called to missions here, in your own backyard, to your neighbors, to your family, to your friends. We all have a part that we have to do. I'm thankful that God has called us to foreign missions. I love it. And one other thing about the sermon before, we talked about you never see what's going to happen when we do those things. And when we went back in 16 or 17 and we built the church at the campground, Sneed's Assembly raised the money for that project. So Sneed's Assembly funded everything we did that year. And I thought it was so unique. Sometimes we don't get to see. But from that project in 16, Ignacio accepted Jesus Christ as his personal Savior. When I talked to him, he told me, he said, whenever I saw that building going up in my village, he said, I couldn't believe that someone from another country would love my village that much to come and to build a church. And just because we built a church, he accepted Christ. Something as simple as building a church. Listen to me, young people. You don't have to have the fancy words to be a witness at school, because those people are watching you. It's how you live. It's how you act. It's what you do. It's how you talk.